sure I had the right authority. So check
Yeah, it's got 2 hours and 32 minutes on it.
I was making sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Welcome to November 16th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm the President Club, Kevin Lynch. Please silence your phones. It's important. Providing invocation today is Ken Euler, Executive Resident at UL College of Business.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm honored to be giving the invocation today. I'm relatively new to Rotary, and I really didn't think I had enough gray hair for this job. Yeah, then I looked in the mirror.
You've got hair.
But when I was asked to give the invocation, I was provided a list of rules that I had to follow. For instance, I was told not to bring up politics or religion, which is easy for me because I'm not particularly religious or political. I'm a Presbyterian. I was also told don't say God. Oh, I just broke that rule, sorry. But the most important rule they gave me when I was giving the invocation, it said, whatever you do, don't go over 12 minutes. So I think it'll be close, but I probably won't break that rule. Seriously, I would like to take a moment to reflect on the good work we do as Rotarians, the positive impact we have on our community, and the people that live here. Let's celebrate being part of such a wonderful organization. Enjoy this meal, enjoy each other's company, hear from our excellent speaker, Elaine Gravatte, and keep up with all the good work. And let's not forget to have a little fun and break some rules along the way. Can I get a secular amen for that?
Amen, Ken. Good job. Trying to follow that up with the pledge and forward test is Senator Dodge, Rotary, a good member of the Parks Alliance of Louisville.
Thank you, President Kevin. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the four-way test for things that we think, say, or do as good Rotarians. Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Now it's time to introduce your guest. Go in the back of the room where the mic is, and guess when your name is called. Just please stand. And people who guess, state your name first, and then your name, title, and organization, and your guess.
President Lynch, I would like to introduce my guest, Ann Leonard. Ann has just raised the IQ of the room. She's a graduate of Purdue and the Wharton School of Business. She is the CFO for D.D. Williamson, part of Givaudan now. She is also a naval officer, an ex-naval officer, served her country for 9 or 10 years, and has, if you have any questions about numbers, she's the person you go to.
President Kevin, I want to welcome a number of guests. I have Mark Snyder, who is a senior investment advisor at PNC Institutional Asset Management. Rafaela Plateau, who is our director at the Speed Art Museum. Kathy Euler, community volunteer and leader in so many ways. Das Ruprai, who is the new CEO at the Center for Nonprofit Excellence. Patty Dale Ty is with Stoll Keenan Ogden. And Pam Thompson is with Mariner Wealth Advisors.
President Kevin, Craig Mooney, board member and chair of the Rotary Honor Scholars Committee. Today, my guest is Krista Snyder. Krista is the CEO of the Louisville Riverboats.
Good afternoon, President Kevin, Elaine Taylor, Executive Director of the club, and I would like to introduce Stephanie Geddes, who is the Graduate Internship Advisor with the Louisville College of Business. Welcome. Are there any other guests here today that have not? I believe we have Elaine's husband and father. Will you introduce them when you're in front of the microphone? All right. Any other guests that are here today that have not been introduced? Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. By the way, one recommendation for the guests. The table on this is one is Rotary. The guest is Craig Sherman, who's hiding over the other table over there. We'll be there after lunch. So after lunch, all you guests, you can just go to and talk to Craig for about 2 or 3 minutes and give you a better idea of what Rotary is about. We have quite a few Rotarians in the spotlight this week, and I'll go through the list. One is we want to congratulate Sean Tribune, who's got the grand opening of her Melanair Marketplace next to Dillard's Women's Store in Mall St. Matthews. This is going to be open until January 2nd, so do your holiday shopping at Melanair's Marketplace. I went there, she used to be in the Omni, right next to the Omni, same building. It's pretty impressive, it's about 30 black-owned businesses and vendors. Consider that for the government. Dr. Swanee Jet and Proctor Community Center, they get a $4.8 million donation from philanthropist Mackenzie Scott to support the center's dental department and expand behavioral health services and launch a new project that will help address food scarcity in the West End. That's a big need for sure. Teresa Reno, where was supposed to be, I was going to remind her that about a couple of years ago, when she was with the Metro United Way, they got a significant donation also from Mackenzie Scott. Another one, I believe, from Jeff Bezos' wife, I forget her first name now. Bezos. But my recommendation at the time was for your development plan, put a list, contact a lot of recently divorced multi-billionaires. Don't know how that's working. And also, congratulations to Stephen and Liz Matley on the expansion of Matley Digital Solutions to include a new 1,600 square foot wrap facility. And Mike Montour, this is a big deal. He's going to receive Greater Louisville Inc.'s highest honor at the upcoming annual meeting. It's called the Gold Cup, and it's rewarded, it says periodically, and I happen to know about that because it's less than annually. It's such a big deal, they don't want to necessarily give it in a particular year. So that's a very huge recognition. It's for extraordinary individuals who represent lifetime leadership in Louisville, in making Louisville in the area a better place to live and work. Also, Whitney Austin was recently on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd. It was really pretty impressive. She's the one that, member of our club, but she's the one involved with Whitney Strong, which is a way to find sort of gun violence reduction, common sense solutions. And she was very articulate, and we're proud to have her as kind of a member being interviewed by Chuck Todd. And there's a link to this in this week's Sparks. So if you want to see her interview from Meet the Press, it's in this week's Sparks via link. And also a gun violence reduction committee for this club is meeting right after this meeting in the boardroom. If anyone wants to join, if there's gun violence, Ishman, for example. It's something that might be of interest to someone. Just join us if you have time. Now I'd like to introduce or welcome to the stage Marilyn Harnett and Larry Sloan for an update on the refugee family we're supporting.
On July 28th of this year, a family of 10 from Syria, by way of the 8+ years they had spent as a refugee in Turkey, arrived at Louisville Airport, met by our co-sponsorship team, and with smiles, which we actually could do, and signs in Arabic, welcome them here. Other than us, they knew no one. Many refugees have a U.S. tie. When they come to Louisville, they might have a distant cousin, they might have someone. This family had no one. We were their temporary family, and then they were led by KRM caseworker and translators to their home, which was a 5-bedroom house on Dixie Highway that with your donations, we had furnished and set up and stocked the refrigerator. It's been a journey for them and for us. And we have had just wonderful experiences with this very appreciative family. On Tuesday, several others in the room, as well as Larry and I, met with the family for what we call a closure. This is not the end of our visiting them or being friends with them, but it's a milestone. It's marking kind of their moving forward. The kids are on school now. The men do not have jobs, but they're in that employment-seeking mode. They've been learning English, and they're going to move forward as independently as they can. But they have been such a pleasure for us to work with, and on this occasion, we got a certificate to share with you. So, given in gratitude for the co-sponsorship of the Rotary Club of Louisville and your dedication and skill in the welcoming of the Mohammed family. Your service towards this family's resettlement in cooperation with Kentucky Refugee Ministries is invaluable and lasting. So we present this to the club. We appreciate your support, and those of us who've had the pleasure to serve in this capacity have been richly rewarded. We will now do another family, probably in January. So we have a team, but if this is work that you might enjoy as well, please speak to Larry, who will be the team lead on the next round go-around. It's something that the Rotary Club is going to continue to do, and we would like your involvement. We'll probably be asking for donations again, too, for furnishings as we go forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. That's pretty impressive. Think about it. Several of you may have been involved with sponsoring a refugee troop in one of your churches. They tend to find people to get couches and furniture, etc., and then to get food for the first period of time when they can fill the pitches, etc. Because KRM and refugees resettlement agencies such as KRM and Catholic Charities do a lot of great support. People coming here, think of that family of 10. Probably none of them speak English. I know that father doesn't. I'm not sure any of them speak English. But they come here and they have all kinds of challenges. We look out there and things are simple for us. But there's so many rules and complexity, you don't speak the language, you don't understand the culture. It's really amazing how they do succeed as a group. Immigrants do very well in our country in terms of they're higher, for example, higher rate of employment on an ongoing basis. So they're really success stories for our country, but it needs people like the Rotary Club or some of the churches that have individuals that are willing to spend a little bit of time, maybe giving them a ride somewhere, taking them to school, whatever their needs are. So it's really the successful part of the resettlement agencies, and also the individuals who have their heart in the right place. So I want to thank them for that. And now I'd like to welcome Amy Luttrell, President and CEO of Givaudan Industries Kentucky, and also Chair of the Rotary Foundation Committee. And she's also a major donor of Level 2.
Thank you, Kevin, and hello, everybody. So today we get to recognize a new major donor, but before we do that, I just want to talk just a minute about the foundation itself and what does that have to do with us here in the Rotary Club of Louisville. So we do, as members of Rotary, have an obligation to support the Rotary Foundation. That's Rotary International's philanthropic arm. And Rotary International asks for each of us as Rotarians to give at least $100 a year during each club year to the foundation. So why is that important? Obviously, I think it's important because I've been given to the foundation for a long time. That's how you get to be a major donor. Just keep going. You don't do it all in 1 year. You just keep going. But to me, it's an opportunity to be a part of projects that are so large and significant that our club alone, as large as we are, could never do that on its own. So we all want to be part of things that are bigger than ourselves. And this is our opportunity as Rotarians to join with 46,000 clubs and 1.4 million other people all around the globe in working together to solve big problems in the world. The annual share fund, which if you go to the site and you give, will pop up to you. It does go to fund big projects, but also a portion of it comes back to our district that we're a part of. I'm sorry, Lori, I put stuff in your chair, so just move it. So we can be eligible to apply for matching grants for projects that we do here locally. So it's a good way to do two things at once. Support those large global projects and add to the money that we spend on our local projects. And we've done that many times and we want to be able to continue to do it. But for that to happen, we do need to make our club goal and we need to remain a star club. So our club goal every year is based on our number of membership. So our goal is going to be larger than a smaller club's goal. Our goal is $40,000 for this Rotary year, and then we also have a separate goal of $5,000 for the Polio Plus program. And this is Foundation Month, so that's why we're recognizing major donors now and making a little bit more of an appeal than usual for us to all give to the Rotary Foundation. Only a few of us have done that so far in this program year, and we're closing in on the first half of the year being over. So we want to make that as easy as possible for everybody to do, because we know that's a piece of what goes on in everybody's mind. How do I do that? And I don't want, go on the site and what's my membership number and all that. So we try to make it as easy as possible. So Elaine has got, once again, a QR code on the screen, so you can use that and make your donation. Also, if you haven't given yet in this club year, she's going to send out an invoice over the next few weeks for $100. And so that will hopefully be easy for you to do. You can give more if you want to, which would be great, but it defaults I think to $100. So expect that to get that in your email. Also, if you look around the room at people that have a little red sticker on their Rotary badge, that means that person has given so far this Rotary year. The Rotary year started in July, so it's July to June. Okay. So, with that being said, it's time now to recognize our new major donor, Tony Coffey. Tony, come on up. So Tony is the principal at Parthenon LLC. He's also vice chair of our Rotary Fund Investment Committee. He's a member of the 1912 Society. And so now he is a new major donor. Major donor recognition, just so you know, is given to people who cumulatively, over time, have given at least $10,000. And so Tony has now done that. And Tony, let me give you, here is a pin for you, which you can wear, and it has a diamond, I think, in there to show that. And then there's a crystal that you get to celebrate your major donor status. And here's that for you, Tony. And so now if I could turn it over to you and just ask you to talk with us about why you've given to the foundation over the years, that would be great.
Thank you, Amy. I hadn't planned to say anything, so I'm going to be really quick and really personal. One thing you've got to keep in mind with Rotary is it is incredibly efficient. And these dollars are going to the bottom line. It's well in excess of 90% actually gets spent where it's going. It's not going on overhead. But you think about the matching grant, the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation does a 2-to-1 matching grant on Polio Foundation. So look, that's over 270% efficiency. So it's over 3 times that 90. So you really get a lot of bang for your buck. But why I give, I'm going to boil it down to 2 words, and that's clean water. I don't think anybody in this room knows. I grew up in very rural Kentucky with We crossed the creek and drove a half mile. That's where the house was, and when it rained, we didn't leave. But we didn't have rainwater in the house. We had a pump outside. But think of all the people in the world that walk a mile to get some type of water, maybe not the plane, carry it back home. If you want to improve life, quality of life, reduce disease, there's nothing more efficient than getting clean water to people. And that's one of Rotary's biggest projects. So think about that when it comes to giving. I would say thanks to Susan Zepeda. I saw her over there, Susan. She was the foundation chair the first year I served on foundations. And I asked her, what's the difference between a Paul Harris Fellow and a Paul Harris Society member? And she finally told me. So it's if you pledge to give at least $1,000 a year, it's society member. I would encourage everybody out there, don't just do the $100, but look at becoming a Paul Harris Society member. Do that at least $1,000 a year. You're a major donor in no time. But thank you. And please just follow the example of Amy. I'll mention one more person, Mike Cool. Nobody works harder than Mike Cool on this at the district level. He's done it for a long, long time. So if you want to be really cool, be like Mike Cool.
I want to say thank you to Susan Donovan and Trudy Mueller, who just gave while we were talking and got their stickers. So you can get your sticker today. You can get on the phone and say about us.
I just want to make a couple of comments about Tony. Tony, we worked together in the investment committee, Rotary Club investment committee for years, and he's been chair more than twice, at least twice, for several years. And one thing is, Tony's really good at what he does. You know, he manages investments on his job. He's very good at that kind of thing. He understands what the purpose of it is, et cetera. But what he's extremely good at, you know, it's hard for many people to care about something that's kind of remote. It's one thing to care about a client who's right next to you, and you like them, you know their kids or whatever. But he cares about these dollars that are being used to help people all over the world. Like he said, they're very efficient. You know, that for $1,500 you can give people clean water in the community, for example. But he manages, and all the time I can tell he does it because out of his heart, he realizes what those funds are for. I want to thank you for that, Tony. I'd like to invite to the stage Kristen Boone, she's marketing manager, marketing manager of Kentucky for the PNC's Institute Asset Management Group.
Well, good afternoon. I'm really honored to have the opportunity to introduce my good friend Elaine, our guest speaker today. She has been a good friend, and you know, we all look for those people that are in our professional and personal lives that both challenge us and support us. And so Elaine's been one of those friends for me, and I greatly appreciate it. She has worked for nearly 24 years with her current employer, the first 21 with the privately held DDW, and now with Givaudan. I used to work on that before. Givaudan, which is a $7 billion company on the Swiss Stock Exchange. Givaudan, or Sense Color, is a world leader in the natural colors industry, operating 12 facilities on 5 continents to serve customers such as Coke, Nestle, PepsiCo, Kraft-Heinz, as well as hundreds of regional and local customers worldwide. She started her career at DDW as the first Chief People Officer and has held a variety of roles, including sales lead for Coca-Cola, President of the North America Division, Chief Operations Officer, President and COO, and ultimately CEO when the business was sold at the end of 2021. Today, she is the president of the Sense Color business unit. During Elaine's years with the company, it has more than quadrupled in revenue while staying true to the stated purpose of working together to serve customers while building community. She is focused on maintaining a culture of adaptability, commitment, customer service, and community engagement during the integration with Givaudan, and believes they are navigating the transition with great success. We look forward to hearing about that. She has been recognized as a 2020 Enterprising Woman by Louisville Business First and has received the 2022 Live United Award from Metro United Way of Louisville. She is the immediate past chair of the Metro United Way Board and serves as board member for Leadership Louisville. Elaine earned her undergraduate degree from University of Kentucky and her master's in human resource development from Vanderbilt University, and has been married to her husband, Steve, for 24 years. They have two beautiful college-age daughters, Emma and Lauren, and their empty nest dog, Coca. And I will say, if you ever have the chance to be in a karaoke competition, you want to make sure that Elaine and Steve are something fast.
There's slides, there's just props. Okay, thank you. And I have to say, this is one of the friendliest set of faces that I've probably ever looked at when I'm standing in front of a crowd. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I have so many supporters in this audience that, I was a bit nervous, but I feel really good now. Kristen sort of did the introduction, but I would like to say a special thank you to my husband, Steve, and my dad, Ron, for being here today. You have both been my rocks through this whole process, and I wouldn't be here without you. So before I get started on my comments, I'm going to ask everyone for a little crowd participation. If you look on your tables, you should see a little stack of sort of colorful pebbles. I want everyone at the table to find one and pick one up. Don't fight over the colors. They're very pretty. So you're going to get one in your hand. Take a look at it, what color it is, what shape it is. And then I want you to put it in your non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, put it in your left hand. Vice versa. Okay. Now, right now, you might be feeling a little curious, maybe even a little awkward or uncomfortable having something in your non-dominant hand, but what you're not is complacent or distracted. So now that I have your attention, I can get going. We will come back to the pebbles, but I've got your attention now, so we'll get going. For the past 9 years, I have had the honor of serving as the president and CEO, division president of DDW, and then more recently, Givaudan, or as the French pronunciation, Givaudan. Go with Givaudan, or Big G. Ann and I mostly call it Big G, so that's the other partner that I need to mention here. Ann is my partner in crime at DDW and Givaudan, and I also would not be here without your support. We are sort of two halves of a whole. You can ask her about the numbers. You can ask me about the people. We can do a decent job vice versa, but I would recommend we kind of stay in our lane for a lot of those questions. But she can help me answer questions about the company if you want to later. I'm not going to speak a lot about the company itself. This is a bit more about my journey, my leadership journey, kind of how I ended up where I am. When I was asked to do this, my first reaction was, no, I'm not that interesting. But when I finally said yes, I said, well, what's the topic? What do you want me to talk about? And it was, well, I think people would be curious, sort of, how did you get where you are? How did you become a leader? How did you become a leader of a global manufacturing company, manufacturing still being a relatively male-dominated industry? And, I tend to get that question quite a lot. I get it from women who are interested in getting on this journey. So how did you get there? And what I really wish that I could say is that I was a kick-ass little kid who knew that this was the journey I was going to get on and go show the men how it was done. It's not actually the case. That is not the story that I'm telling today, although I wish it was. And then I would say, initially my reaction when people would ask me, well, how did you get there, would be to sort of shrug my shoulders and say, well, it's kind of an accident. That's not exactly right either. So really the journey that I've been on, ultimately to get to this position, is very much a reflection of wisdom that I have gathered from other people along my journey. And there have been sort of specific places where a pebble has dropped into my pool, and the waves of that wisdom sort of rippled over me. In some cases, the waves crashed right on over me and knocked me into a different course. But so this is about some of those pebbles of wisdom and the people that I have gleaned them from, and how I've had the wisdom to pick them up and carry them with me as a part of my journey. So, now, Dad, this is the part that I don't look at you, okay? So I'm going to be looking around. The first pebble that I picked up came from my mom, and this pebble is positive energy. I came up here with this for a reason. I'm getting ready to explain why. My mom was a beautiful, courageous, fierce person. She was a teacher. She was a rule breaker. Somebody mentioned breaking rules earlier. My mom was a real rule breaker in her time. She taught school. She's taught special education. She taught special education middle schoolers, special needs kids. Just took on incredibly challenging circumstances with such great spirit. And so I grew up with this person who was just a really positive influence. But I don't think I fully appreciated the power of that positive energy that she brought to the world until I was 18. When I was 18, my mother had a pretty massive stroke, and she would live the next 27 years of her life with a disability. When she first had the stroke, we were told that she may never walk again. The disability was pretty severe. Well, she was not having that. So she worked very hard in physical therapy. She got really good at physical therapy. She did that a lot. She worked very hard in physical therapy and eventually got back to walking with a cane. And she was able to walk with a cane for most of the rest of her life. But she didn't just sort of recover and accept and get back to where she needed to go. She decided that she would make that cane a symbol of who she was and how she showed up in the world. So my mom would take her cane, sometimes much to my dad's chagrin, but my mom would take her cane, and for every holiday, for every event, for the UK U of L basketball game, for Christmas, for Easter, for Memorial Day, for 4th of July, there was a decoration set, lights and all, that had to be put on the cane. And so she would walk through life, through airports. There's a story about that one. I won't go into it, but let's just say she managed to shut the airport down for a little while. She would walk through life with a smile on her face, walking with a cane, clearly with a disability, but with this energy that said, I am living my life in a fierce and positive way. And we would be late we would run late anyway, but we would be late going to places because people would stop her. They'd ask her questions. You know, what happened, what about the cane? She would explain that, well, if I'm gonna have to carry the damn thing, then I might as well make it fun, I might as well make it something special. And that really landed on me. And I probably didn't really realize it until many years later. She unfortunately passed away almost 9 years ago. But that really showing up with positive energy, and showing up with positive energy in a situation where this was adversity. This was not something that was easy to recover. This aged her. This was physically difficult for her. So it wasn't easy, but that was her choice, to show up with that belief. And so one of my real leadership lessons is it's important to show up with that belief that things will work out, with that belief that things can be positive, even when they're hard, especially when they're hard. Not like a blind optimism, just a real sense that, yep, we've got this, we're moving through it, we can move through it together, and we can bring some energy and have some fun. So that's one of the real, I think, leadership tenets that I try to bring, that Ann and I and our team try to bring to our organization on a daily basis. The second pebble that I talk about then came from my dad. And the wisdom that came from my dad was the power of a promise kept. You're going to hear a P theme here, right? So get ready. P's. The power of a promise kept. So my mom had the stroke and lived for 27 years with a disability, which meant that my dad lived with a disability as a caregiver for those 27 years. And there was some real challenge with that. He was quite a young man. My mom was only 50. They were quite young. when this changed their life. This was not the traveling and retirement and fun I'm sure that they had envisioned. My dad was a fantastic professional at Cincinnati Gas and Electric. He had a great career. He's a super professional role model for me. Really well loved by the people that he worked with. But he took on this role of caregiving for my mother, and it was because there was a promise there. They were married. They were married for 48 years, for better or for worse. And there was just never a question. And so my mom's positive energy, in many ways, I think came from just that confidence, that promise that she knew that he was there and that promise was going to be kept forever and ever. And he did, all the way to the end. Not looking at you. So, the foundation of trust, the importance of being trustworthy, of being someone who, when you make a commitment, it surprises people if you're not there. They're worried something's wrong if you haven't met that commitment because you're so consistent in keeping your promises and making your commitments. That is another sort of crucial leadership element. You make commitments, you're careful about the commitments that you make, you keep them, you explain why if things change, and you recognize that people are listening and they're processing and they're sort of attaching to your words, meaning that maybe sometimes you didn't intend, but it's important to always be aware as a leader that you bring a presence and a commitment just in your very being. So that promise is kept element is another really important part of the way that I have chosen to lead, and hopefully I show up that way pretty consistently. The third pebble then has really come from multiple people, and it'll resonate very much with the people in this room, and that is the pebble of purpose. A sense of purpose is just so crucial to the DNA of DDW, now Givaudan. Kristen mentioned when she was talking that we have our stated purpose, which is to work together to serve customers while building community. We went through an exercise. This was really Ted and his family and sort of their grounding for the company. Ted Nixon and the Nixon family were the owners of the company. But it came really bottom up. We did a lot of interviews with our associates around the world, and we said, why are we here? And the obvious answer is, well, we're here to make color, right? We used to joke that we're here to fake you out. We're adding color to something to make it the color that maybe it wouldn't ordinarily be. But no, why are we here? And really the reason that the company was here wasn't so much about what we were doing, but the fact that this company had a responsibility to serve customers and to engage with our associates to ensure that we were working together, and that in those communities where we lived and worked, we had a responsibility to lift them up and make them better. And it sounds like a platitude, but it was really something, and is really something, that at DDW and now Givaudan is really core to who we are. And this is a global manufacturing company. So most of our customers are not here in Louisville. There's no real financial or customer benefit for the company to get involved in helping community. It really was genuinely just that the family and the company felt like this was at our core. And again, global manufacturing, we work with a lot of some fairly crusty characters, right? They're terrific people, but a few crusty characters in our operations plant. But I will tell you that is where this purpose, this pebble, has really resonated the most. I have a couple of stories. We have a gentleman that works in our plant here in Louisville, and he's kind of a grumpy guy. But every year, he is the one who brings in the most can donations when we do the can collection drive. He's not necessarily the one who has the most means to be able to do this, but he does it every year. And so he gets to go and deliver the food to Dare to Care or wherever the various donations are going that year. And so I asked him, I said, well, Dennis, this is amazing. It's so cool that you do this, well, but why? I mean, what is it that sort of resonates with you? And he said, I was raised by a single mom who had 5 kids. We had nothing. And he said, if this company gives me a chance to have an impact on a kid like me, I'm going to do it all day long. It's the guy that runs in operations in the plant, right? So it struck me that everybody needs a sense of agency, a sense of purpose, a sense that they're making a bigger difference in the world. And it's everywhere in the world. We have a kindergarten in Shanghai that we support for kids who aren't eligible to go to the local schools. We have AIDS orphans in Africa that are nearby to our plant in Africa and deliver food and provide school supplies for them. Everywhere I go, that story is the same. And it is the same even more robustly for those who maybe have not as much means as it is for those who have more means. So that making sure that even when things are difficult, even when the company is challenged, even when we are busy, and the 2 years that we have been in this integration have been incredibly busy. But as a leader, helping people to balance priorities and to make time for the sense of purpose, to make time for those things that really resonate with folks is another one of the real pebbles of wisdom, another one of the responsibilities that I carry with me as a leader. And by the way, Cynthia and I talked about this at a couple of months ago. That sense of agency, that sense of engagement, that sense of wisdom, it's a fantastic tool for reducing turnover because people stay. They love it, they stay engaged with it, and they stay with you. Then sort of the last pebble that I'll talk about in terms of this theme is the power of a posse. So the urban definition of a posse is a group of friends or a group of friends with a common goal. This pebble came to me from, really started with a dear friend and executive coach, a lady that I worked with for 20 years. Her name was Karen Wonderland. Some of you in this room will know Karen. We did unfortunately lose her last year. She's amazing. But when I was young, I'd just been at DDW for a couple of years. Steve and I were fairly newlyweds. We had started a family. I had a toddler. I had an infant. It was crazy. And Ted came to me and said, I would like for you to take on being president of the North American division, which is a facilitative role, but I want you to add this to yours, and you're going to take on P&L responsibility. And my initial reaction was, I think you might be crazy. I don't think I can do this. And he said, yes, you can. Let's talk about what is it that you need to be able to do it. So in his real wisdom, we had the conversation, and I said, well, I'll make you a deal. I'm kind of cheeky, as young as I was. I'll make you a deal. If you get me an executive coach, I'll try it for a year. And if I can make it work, if I can balance it with my family needs and with the way I want things to work at home, then I'll do it. And so I found Karen. And Karen and I met, and I think it was probably the very first time that we met. She said, you just need to find people, you need to find women who are trying to do what you're doing. You need a posse. So she and I went out, people that she knew, people that I knew, we formed the first, what we called the ME group, the Mom Executive Group. Again, a group of women taking on big professional roles, young kids at home, traveling for business, crazy life. And we put that together. And this has been, it sounds quite obvious really, but it was so life-changing for me. That idea of being intentional about going out and putting a group of people together, in this case women, and a lot of my posses are women, not all of them, I have mixed forums as well, but a group of women who are trying to go in the same place so that you can, what is it they say? You cannot be what you cannot see. So you're looking around at other women who are doing it, and by the way, who are also sometimes falling short, and it's okay. They're still doing it. They're picking themselves up and moving on, and their kids are good, and it works. And I just didn't have that vision when I was young and had these kids and had this overwhelming feeling, but it turns out you can. And that was probably the key of me really being comfortable to get on this path and to continue to challenge myself and to take the sales lead for Coke and to take running operations, even though I don't have an operations background, and to take ultimately on the president role and to work with this fantastic team and do all the things that I do. And in the 20 years since we put together that first group, I have multiple posses of fabulous women and fabulous people. And they're there, as Kristen said, they're there to support and to challenge. They're there to help pick you up, but also to say, hey, have you thought really about what you're doing there? And without that intention, without that set of people, without the dedication to continue to make time for that, I'm pretty confident I would not be where I am today. So those are really, I could go until dinner time, nobody wants to do that, but those are, when I reflected on this, those were really the four that resonated for me. So the positive energy, the promise is kept, the importance of being trustworthy, of being the foundation of trustworthy as a leader, the importance of sense of purpose, of creating a sense of purpose, a real sense of purpose that resonates with people, that feels authentic, and then ensuring that you've got that posse built around you, multiple posses that serve different purposes. Those are really the keys for how I lead, for how I show up, and hopefully there's something in there that you feel like you want to attach to that pebble that's in your hand, a moment of reflection, a moment of joy, a lesson learned that you attach to this, and you pick it up. And then somewhere along the line, you'll drop it into the pond and it'll ripple over somebody else, and the cycle goes on. And that is what I am happy to answer questions about the company and the acquisition and everything else, but those are my prepared comments. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Time for Q&A. So Terry, get some questions about the 4 Ps. Pretty special stuff.
All right, Barbara Sexton-Smith here. Thank you very much. As another executive woman with little kids that were 40 years ago, I couldn't let you go unquestioned.
Please don't.
All right, so let's go right to the workplace. What do you see as the biggest challenge that you as an executive are facing at your company, and then is that the same, or is there a different challenge you see the workplace facing today in America? Thank you.
I think the post-COVID world definitely has some challenges that feel bigger. I don't know that they're different. Everyone trying to, that was sort of reshifting the priorities for people looking for more ability to have a bit of flexibility in their work. We do try to offer that where we can and when we can, and try to respect the fact that we have to take care of the whole person at work, and not, people don't just show up for work, they're people. I don't know that that's a different challenge than what it was before, but it certainly feels bigger and more significant, and like you have to address it in a much more overt way, maybe than what we would have done 5-10 years ago. That's sort of the challenge that I see from a workforce standpoint. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming today. It's been very interesting. I'm Larry Sloan, and my question is, and I have a little follow-up question to go with it.
Okay.
I know you're only supposed to ask one question, but this seems like it would work for anybody, whether you're a man or a woman. What do you think about that? I mean, it seems like you were telling it from a woman's point of view, which is great. I really like that. But all the things you pointed out seem to work in general.
100%. I did not mean to be so gender specific. My journey has been a bit sort of from the woman perspective, but again, a number of my posses are mixed gender men and women, and it resonates the same. The needs, I think, are the same, and the lessons, I think, are very much the same.
That's great. Okay, a little follow-up question is, if I drop this in water, will it dissolve, or will it just continue? Because I'm a little worried about that.
It will not dissolve. It will stay whole. You just make sure you drop it somewhere where it's going to ripple over somebody else in a positive
like
way.
Like grass creek or something.
Sure.
So Barbara asked the question about the workforce, and specifically as we think about this country. You all are working in many different countries. Will you tell us a little bit about where your different plants are, where your employees are, and maybe just a couple of the different challenges that you're seeing in different parts of the world? Would be interesting.
Absolutely. So we have, we actually now with the new company, we actually have 14. I realize I need to update my presentation. 14 manufacturing locations, 6 continents. We are not in Antarctica yet. I don't see that coming anytime soon. I think the high level part is that the challenges are more the same than they are different. The experience, we're such a global world now. the experiences are more the same than they are different. But we have facilities in Europe. We have facilities in China, in Malaysia, in Africa, in South America, in Brazil. Certainly, we are in developing markets as well as developed markets. The developing markets can come with some different challenges. They may be at different points in the development of their business culture. That can be challenged. Ann and I, probably things that keep us up at night are probably more about the developing country markets in terms of just worrying that the foundation is there and that sort of our culture supersedes any local culture that may want to take them in a different direction. But as I said, we still have people who very much want to have a sense of purpose and a sense of agency when they come to work. They still come to work as a whole person with families at home and need that recognized and need to help to balance those needs and capabilities and have that kind of flexibility. So a lot of it is more the same than different. We are just hugely blessed to get to interact with all these people all over the world and sort of learn these lessons firsthand. But I spoke to a group of young women in Eswatini, Africa, a few years ago when I was down there. That it's a small enough country that you can actually get to the ambassador and you get to do some interesting things. It's only 1 million people. And the questions that they asked were the same questions that I get here. These young women, how do you get started? How do you get a mentor? How do you figure out how to manage taking care of your kids and be able to show up for work and be fierce every day? And the men have the same challenges as well. So, I think it is a very global world. We are more and more sort of influenced by other cultures. So I think it comes together a bit more. But it's been a really terrific journey to get to know people in all of those different locations and to find that lesson out firsthand.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Elaine Taylor, Executive Director. So the way that I first heard about DDW was when Ted Nixon was the first person, company, organization to sign a letter of intent to become Canopy certified. Mm-hmm. So we've got Ben here, so I just had to mention that. Founding board member of Canopy. So really, that was my first exposure, and then I went on the tour. How many of the people in this room were on the tour that Rotary did of DDW, the Color House? Absolutely fascinating. I think we need to do another one of those. It was pretty cool.
You're more than welcome.
In the minute or so that we have left, are there any meaningful milestones in your company's history since you've been there? Maybe before the most recent one, which obviously is huge, but are there any particular meaningful milestones that you've not had a chance to talk about yet today?
We have a whole history wall. If you come on the tour, we'll give you the whole 55-year history of it. I think it is a company with really interesting history. One of the things we started in the brewing industry, so one great milestone along the way was when Prohibition hit, and how a company in New York who makes brewing ingredients is going to survive Prohibition, and yet we did. We had burnt sugars, and we had some business in the Caribbean, and there was this little soft drink company called PepsiCo that was beginning to produce in that time zone. It was around the corner in New York, little serendipity there. So, there were 3 generations of Nixons that led the company prior to me coming in as president. So those were all transition milestones. And certainly when Ted asked me, and we worked on the succession plan and asked me to become the first female president of the company, that was another milestone. In an organization that's well over 150 years old, there are lots of them. It's a cool, the history of the company maybe would have been a more interesting topic, but you got me instead.
One quick final question.
Yes.
Everybody's probably want to know, what's your favorite color?
You did hear where I graduated from college, right?
I did.
So I have my UK blue on.
All right.
It's actually more, some of the ladies, we were in a Wind Down Wednesday meeting last night and we were talking about our colors, so it's actually because I'm a summer and I needed to show up in my good colors, but it has the added benefit of being UK blue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, one more response.
Yep, one more.
It's a raffle. From Elaine, would like to look at some other contributions.
All right.
Winning number is, the last 4 digits, 9963. Okay.
Thank you.
By the way, next week, since we're meeting on a Tuesday, this is real important. You need to register today, by today, in order to come next Tuesday. Michigan Restaurant.
Right now.
Yeah, in other words, before you leave today, make sure you let Elaine know, or Tracy if she's around. Let them know you want to be here next Tuesday, because tomorrow's too late, because the restaurant has a few days' notice. So, how would that leave afterwards? And next week, a lot of you know Jay Bruce Miller. He's a real character, great guy. He was the one that was involved with almost getting the MBA here several times. He's actually thinking about it again. That's another story. But Bruce is going to come here and talk about the challenges of Louisville doing big things and what they need to do to continue to do big things and grow the way he would like them to grow. Like us to grow. So come next week, but make sure you talk to that lady over there. Elaine's going to handle that. And the Kiwanis Club is sharing that with us next week as well, but it's going to be here, usual time. And also the Kiwanis Club is put a challenge to us. The Red Kettle campaign, the bell ringer with the most money is what the challenge is, so let's not let them down. Talk to George Breakmeyer about scheduling that. And any of the guests, again, go over that, what's Rotary table over there? And Craig Sherman over there smiling. We'll give you some information about Clay. Thanks for coming.